All right, so this is 1.4. This is day what, 2? Completing the square. I don't know if Thorsten got to this last year with the pandemic. Anybody know? Does this sound familiar? The square by 2? Okay, so no? Well, maybe. Why don't you watch and then tell me afterwards if you recognize it? Are you talking about synthetic division?
Yeah.
No, not that. Okay, so we're going to try this one. X squared, and I'm going to write out very specific instructions, okay? 4x minus x squared minus 14 equals 0. Okay, so can everybody see that if we were to factor this right now, it wouldn't work? Because we're looking for two things that multiply to get negative 14 and add to get negative 4. 2 and negative 7. Can you see it's not going to work in your head? Okay, so this is a method called completing the square, which you will be tested on probably in your entrance exams to college. Did you know that you have to do entrance exams for college? Okay, so sorry that this is news to you. Entrance exams for college will, it's not that bad. They might make you take some remedial classes if you score super low. Remedial classes are really unfortunate because not only do you have to take classes, but you have to pay for them, and they don't count towards your degree. You have to just kind of deal with it until you get to the point they want you to be at, so it's good to be able at least to get through pre-calculus, which is what I'm teaching you now, or test into pre-calculus. What you don't want to have happen is being like forced to retake like geometry and algebra 2 in college. So you do try to do well on those exams. And if you do well enough, you skip a whole bunch of classes and they'll give you credit for them. So like when I went to college, I took my entrance exams and they told me that I didn't have to take any English classes in college because I scored high enough. I still ended up taking some because I needed like extra credits, but anyway. Yep.
How high of a score do you need to skip something?
Depends on the college and the subject. Usually they only test you in English and math. And make you can test out of certain English classes or certain math classes. Okay, so completing the square. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a square. And I'm also going to get this 14 on the other side, so I'm going to get it out of the way. So this is now x squared minus 4x, and I want you to do this. Everybody look up, write plus, leave a blank, and then write equals 14. Like we're going to put something in there. Now, I want this to be a perfect square, and by perfect, do you guys remember what perfect squares are? Yeah, easily, because they're the exact same thing twice, like 16, because 4 times 4 is 16, 25, and so on. Okay? So we're going to try to kind of fill this out, and we're going to have it be the same thing twice. So I'm going to put an x squared here. That's from this. And do you guys remember that when you're factoring, that these two together make up that middle term? These two right here and here usually end up adding them together because they both have x's in them. But I want them to be the exact same thing. So if I'm trying to add up to negative 4x, what should I put here and here? Not just 2. Negative 2x on both of them. I'm trying to make them exactly the same thing.
But is it negative 2 times negative 2 positive 4?
Right, but you add them together when you put them in this way. Good question. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to think about what's on the outside. I'm leaving this hole right here. This is the completing the square part. Do you see how it's a square? And I'm going to try to complete it. I'm going to try to figure out what goes there. But first, let's try to figure out what goes on the outside. What goes on the outside here, in here? X and X. You guys with me so far? And we're making it a perfect square, so it's going to be the exact same thing on the top as the sides. So what's going to go on the top and the side? Negative 2, negative 2. But what goes in here then? If I wanted, so like, you see how This is x squared minus 4x, which is right there. And now I've got to add something extra here to complete the square, and it has to be a 4, that perfect square there. But if I do that to the left, I have to do it to the right too. So I'm going to write plus 4 here, and then I'm also going to write plus 4 over here. And then I'm going to rewrite it, parentheses, parentheses. This stuff on the left is equivalent to x minus 2 squared. Do you understand why? Why is this equal to x minus 2 squared? Yeah?
Because when it broke down the box.
Yeah, when we broke down the box, it was x minus 2 and x minus 2. That's x minus 2 squared. Do you guys see it? That's why we made it a perfect square, so we can always put it in parentheses like that. And then that equals 18. And now we just solve it like we would any other problem like this. So what should I do first? Square root. That's x minus 2 equals plus or minus. Can you start breaking this down in your head now? Do you always have to draw it, or no? Does it help to draw it out like a tree? So this is 3, and you got a 2 left over. That's 3 square roots of 2. And then what to get x by itself? Add 2 to both sides. So this is x equals 2 plus or minus 3 times the square root of 2. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write instructions for this. Anybody feel like they could reproduce this no problem right now? What we just did? Cool. Do you think you could reproduce it 3 weeks from now? Yeah, so let's make instructions. All right, so I'm going to write instructions. If you feel like you totally understand this and you don't need instructions, then just don't write them right now. All right, so move the number that isn't the variable to the other side. Step 1 for completing the square. Step 2. Fill the x squared in the box and split the x value into 2 equal parts. In the box corners. Is that a good enough? You understand what that means?
Yeah.
Step 3. Figure out what goes on the outside. And step 4 is completing the square. Complete the missing piece of the square. Add that number to both sides of the equation. Step 5, rewrite as a square. And look up, don't write as a square, rewrite as a, I'm going to write parentheses with a square like that so that you know what that looks like. And then solve like normal. All right, should we try one with your partner, see if you can do it? All right, example 2. I'll put it back up there in a second if you need it. All right, let's do. I'll just make up one. Let's do x squared plus 10x